After Amy left, Shirone squatted down to pick up his backpack. Well, I guess this is better than getting expelled. It seems her schematic skills are still excellent, even though I feel it's unfair having to do everything she wants. Shirone held his face, thinking it was already this difficult at the very beginning. The next day, everyone hurried toward the library. The students at school suddenly seemed drawn by something. Someone called out to a friend, "Hey, look over there." Shirone held a cup of coffee as he approached, and the people around him murmured in surprise. "What? Is he the new student? Oh my, oh my." Shirone stood before everyone, holding out the cup of coffee with both hands to Amy. "Here you go, Senior Amy." His voice wasn't too loud, but loud enough for everyone to hear, and all eyes turned to Amy and the coffee. Cerielle stood beside her, gently patting Amy's shoulder and whispering, "No way, Amy. How could this be?" Amy pushed her hair back, her eyes blazing red. She reached out and snatched the cup of coffee from Shirone's hands. "Oh my, you must have done a lot of work for this." Then she spun around and walked away. Cerielle asked, "You're just leaving like that?" Amy calmly replied, "We have to hurry. It's almost class time. No time to waste." Shirone's face flushed bright red as he watched Amy's retreating figure. "What the heck was that?" The students gathered around started whispering and speculating. "Oh my God, he just confessed to Amy and she just left without a word." Poor guy. Cerielle chased after Amy, asking, "Do you think the new student likes you?" Amy shook her head. "No, I was just teaching the junior a lesson." Calm on the outside, but inside, Amy was dancing with joy, extremely happy. She sipped her coffee, thinking, "See, this humiliation was given to you by me, the great Amy." In her mind, she pictured a scenario, thinking, "Because of this, you'll be on the list of juniors who secretly like me." She thought even if Shirone shouted across the school, "Amy Karmis is a perverted thug," everyone would just shrug and sigh. Oh, great. He wants revenge because he got rejected. Amy was sure that from now on, no matter what he said, no one would believe him. She hummed as she walked, "What's sweeter than revenge?" Cerielle walked beside her, puzzled. He seems really happy, Amy thought with relief, as if all the worries of the past 5 years had vanished. Her thoughts sounded like a loud drum beat of some while Shirone stood drained in the middle of the crowd. This was definitely bullying. When did I offend her? Shirone clenched his fists, thinking that if he stayed stuck in negative thoughts, he'd be the only one losing out, no trust, no advantage. Once again, he lifted his head. His eyes had changed. If he had to do it anyway, he would do it perfectly. Experience and feelings depend on his mindset. And from then on, until 10 days later, the academy buzzed again. He's back. He's back again today. Someone shouted loudly, telling the innocent romantic story at the Magic Academy. For 10 days straight, he confessed his feelings every day. Cheers and excited chatter filled the air. Amy and Cerielle stood at the library entrance, also looking toward that direction. Amy laughed, noticing the number of onlookers had clearly increased. Behind Shirone, many people were watching him intently. Amy smiled to herself, thinking if so many people already knew, maybe it was time to slowly end this story. Suddenly, Cerielle beside her spoke up. "Amy, when are you going to accept Shirone's feelings?" The unexpected question froze Amy in place. "Huh? What did you say, Cerielle?" Amy asked loudly. "Why would I accept that guy? Have you forgotten who you are?" Cerielle pondered, then said, "But there are a lot of rumors. Actually, you ignore everyone else, but you always accept coffee from Shirone." Cerielle's words hit Amy like a thunderbolt. Everyone eagerly awaited the birth of the Academy's legendary radiant couple. Her thoughts boiled down to 3 words. Another cup of coffee was placed before Amy. Shirone called out with a smile, "Senior, your coffee." As soon as he finished, the students below immediately erupted, shouting, "Say yes, say yes." Shirone looked at Amy confidently and casually said, "This time I didn't spill a single drop of coffee, right?" But inside, he urged Amy to quickly accept it so he could rush to the library. Amy gritted her teeth. Now not only were her eyes blazing red, but her cheeks were flushed as well. How did this happen? Are they all joking with me? Amy tensed, her face bright red as she stared at Shirone. Suddenly, she reached out and knocked the coffee cup from Shirone's hands, then said, "So troublesome." Cerielle and the other students were stunned. Cerielle covered her mouth and called out to Amy. The coffee cup spilled onto the ground. Amy said, "You think I'd fall for you just because of this?" She pointed her finger. "You're a student who won't study, always following after annoying girls." She turned away. "Don't ever give me these things again." Cerielle hurriedly apologized to Shirone. "Sorry, please forgive me." The crowd around them buzzed loudly. That rejection was brutal. Cerielle asked, "What will you do if these rumors spread?" Amy snapped, "Who cares? Those people are probably just full and lazy." She raised her voice. "By the time I graduate, it will all be over. Outside on the steps." Shirone bent down to pick up the coffee cup as the chatter continued nonstop. "I think she's an ice princess. That's why she acts like that." "Accuse her of wasting coffee, poor Shirone." Shirone was still stunned. "Really? I don't have to do this anymore?" He hugged his bag and stood up. The girl sighed. "Oh no, he looks so miserable. It's heartbreaking." But contrary to what everyone said, Shirone showed a relaxed expression. "I am free." That night in the library, Amy rested her head on the book before her, thinking, "Damn it." She irritably raised her head and grabbed the pen nearby. "I need to stop the freshmen from spreading rumors outside. But since I started it, it'll be fine if I end it before it spreads too far." Yet that wasn't the most important thing. Amy's eyes glowed bright red, Karmis pink irises, her family's mark, the reflective memory. The scene around Amy suddenly shifted. She seemed to be sitting in the academy's courtyard. This was a skill that allowed its user to record what they had experienced. Amy recalled the image of Shirone offering her coffee, shyly saying, "Senior, here is your coffee." For 10 consecutive days, whenever she met Shirone, she used the Karmis pink iris. Amy remembered how Shirone looked while doing those small tasks. She gritted her teeth. He seemed very pleased on the first day. But what Amy saw didn't change at all over the next 9 days. She pondered the expression in his eyes, never shifted, not even his pupils moved. Amy approached, carefully studying the image in her memory. What did it mean? She seriously wondered, no matter how much someone tries to hide their feelings, they cannot conceal their true emotions in their eyes, because the autonomic nervous system cannot be controlled. If he can control his gaze, then Amy's eyes suddenly flashed brightly. He can control his emotions like a robot. She closed her eyes, then shut the book, concluding that he had been extremely sincere. Cerielle noticed her movements and quietly asked, "Oh, Amy, are you done?" Amy stood up and packed her books. "I'm feeling a bit tired today." Cerielle also intended to stand. "If so, let's go home together." Amy declined. "No. You don't have to do that for me. I'll go alone." Cerielle asked worriedly, "Is it because you feel upset that no one accepted Shirone's coffee?" Amy was speechless. "I already said it's not like that," Cerielle added. "If you want to talk about anything, just tell me." "All right," Amy nodded. "Yeah. Thanks." Amy walked out, completely drained of energy. She sighed. "Oh, I'm so tired. Nothing's going according to plan. My mind is a mess." Amy pushed the door open. "I need to rest for a while." Suddenly, someone greeted her. "Leaving early today?" Amy thought. "That's Jake Ardius." Jake winked at Amy. "I thought I'd have to wait for you until midnight." Amy asked him, "Why would you wait for me? Are you that bored?" Jake stepped closer and said, "Don't be so harsh. I've heard the rumors. I heard some weird guy named Shirone is chasing after you." Amy felt less bored. "No way. Did you come here just to laugh at me?" "Oh, my head." "Of course not. Here, take this." Jake handed Amy a cup of coffee. "This is premium Western coffee. You won't find it at school." "Someone as amazing as Amy deserves to be treated right," Amy asked disdainfully. "What the hell are you doing?" Jake replied, "As you can see, I'm trying to win your heart," he continued. "Unlike that weird guy, I'm the heir to the Royal Ministry of Finance. I'm much more worthy of you." Amy showed obvious disgust and coldly said, I have no interest in playing disgusting games with you. Jake froze, repeating, disgusting, Amy continued, and I don't think we're close enough for that kind of relationship. She bluntly exposed him. Do you think I don't know your group is trying to undermine me at every chance? Jake quickly raised his voice to explain, wait, I think it's just a misunderstanding. Aren't your words a bit harsh? He stepped closer with a steaming cup of coffee. You insult me as well as my family. I won't forgive anyone who harms my family's honor. Jake narrowed his eyes and smiled. As a member of the famous Karmis family, you must understand that, right? Amy coldly replied, pathetic. Jake was stunned. What? Amy didn't hold back and directly scolded him. Just because you have some reputation at school, you think you can act arrogantly like that toward people who don't support your family? She smiled. Someone who created that bizarre club and secretly insults others, do you even know what honor means? Jake bared his teeth in a vile grin, clutching his forehead as he cursed Amy. You bitch, it seems you're arrogant just because you're famous, Jake shouted angrily. Do you think no one can challenge your Karmis family? Your family may top certain fields, but not in power. He stepped closer, forcing Amy to step back. With my family's power, I can drain the Karmis family's finances. Jake's blazing eyes looked down on her as he loudly asked, do you understand now? Amy laughed. I understand perfectly. She bluntly continued, yes, that gaze truly belongs to a worthless guy. Amy looked straight into Jake's ugly face and remarked, unlike Shirone, your eyes look like dead fish. Those words made him refuse to believe his ears. What, are you saying I'm not worthy compared to that spineless guy? Jake went mad. Ah, right, I've done too much already. Before I absolutely defeat you, I shouldn't interfere anymore. Jake's next words made Amy furious. I can guarantee that within a day, that guy will never be able to use magic again, he added. I'll show you how great I am. But he was silenced by a slap of a hand that knocked Amy's coffee cup down. The cup flew to the ground and shattered into pieces. This, Jake gritted his teeth and gums as he stared at Amy. Arrogant bitch, even my patience has its limits, no matter how beautiful you are. Suddenly, his pupils contracted. Amy had activated her spirit realm. She calmly asked Jake, what? Her blazing red eyes flickered in the darkness. What do you intend to do? Jake trembled inwardly, thinking, can she use the 4 forms that quickly? He hesitated. Are you crazy? Don't you know this breaks the magic use rules here? Amy laughed loudly. The wind howled through the enclosed corridor. She mocked, you're just all looks. At least Shirone doesn't rely on his family background. She said, he's someone who takes responsibility for his actions, and I could never catch up with him in half a year, right? Jake's veins bulged as he wanted to curse Amy. That damn girl. He thought to himself, she was like a whirlwind sweeping through the entire room. Jake calculated, if I make any move, will she strike back? I can't fight the top student of the Magic Academy. But then he glanced at Amy, grabbed the nearby railing, and prepared himself. Patience is a virtue. Revenge can wait 10 years. Jake ran down the stairs shouting, don't think this is over. Amy leaned against the wall, murmuring it had been a long time since she'd felt so stirred up. She wondered to herself, why do I have to do this? Because he threatened me? Or because he found out my secret? Amy recalled Shirone's words in the forest. If doing these errands can earn your trust, I'll do it. Amy turned sharply and looked down at the spilled coffee puddle on the floor. Cursing under her breath, damn it, I guess he won't come tomorrow. The moon was high outside as she muttered, but thanks to him, her mind was finally free of worries. A few days later at the academy, Cerielle stood with tears in her eyes. The waves Amy caused were still spreading. On a piece of paper, she had written, I caught Shirone going to Training Center 14 at 6 in the evening before I dealt with him. If you dare tell any teacher, I will make you regret it for the rest of your life. Shirone read the note and turned to ask Cerielle, standing beside him. So, Senior Amy went there to save me? At the bottom corner of the paper was the signature, Black Mage. These events had turned into a roaring tsunami. The bell from the tall tower rang as students shuffled in, preparing to attend class. Shirone walked while reading a book. Those around him recognized him and whispered quietly, "Hey, that's the guy who's flirting with Senior Amy." It's funny, but kind of awkward too. Shirone sighed helplessly. 4 days ago, Amy had knocked over his coffee cup. Embarrassed, he thought to himself, how can I even dare to lift my head here now? He covered his mouth with the book and cleared his throat. In situations like this, a confident smile is all it takes. They didn't tease him for long. It seemed their suspicion had eased. Suddenly, a figure caught Shirone's attention ahead. Oh, that's Senior Cerielle. He saw Cerielle standing there alone. Shirone wondered, why does she always walk with Senior Amy? Is something wrong? He stepped forward to greet Senior Cerielle. Just as he spoke, Cerielle suddenly shouted, startling him into shouting back. She lunged forward and grabbed Shirone by the collar. "Why are you here? Where is Amy?" Shaken and wobbling, Shirone asked, "Why are you asking all of a sudden?" Cerielle pressed a piece of paper against Shirone's face. "Look at this. You should be in trouble right now, shouldn't you?" Shirone blinked. "What?" The note read, "Shirone is in my hands. If you want to rescue him, come to Training Hall 14 before 6 in the evening. If you dare tell a teacher, you will regret it for life." Signed, Dark Mage. Shirone stared at the paper, confused. "Am I being kidnapped?" Cerielle turned and asked, "Who is this? A dark mage?" 30 minutes earlier, Amy and Cerielle were walking across the schoolyard when someone greeted them. "Senior, are you well?" Cerielle frowned. "It's him again." Amy said, "Didn't I tell you to get lost? How dare you talk to me again?" The blonde man smiled evenly. "You'd be better off less arrogant. He has this note in his hand. His boss wants to see you." Cerielle pulled Amy away, ignoring him. Amy said, "That's why he'll always stay at level 5. The blonde man continued, "The boss said if he sends this to you, you'll listen. He said, if you don't want anything to happen to your guy, you better accept." Cerielle glared as if looking at a madman. "What did you just say?" "Disgusting." Then she said to Amy, "Let's hurry to the library." But suddenly Amy turned back and snatched the note from the man's hand. "Oh, look at this." Cerielle called out suspiciously, "Amy." Amy looked at the paper in her hand. Shirone had been kidnapped. She thought of Jack. He had promised to make Shirone unable to use magic anymore. Angry, Amy cursed silently. "Damn, Jack." Clenching the paper tightly, she said loudly, "So what?" Then she crumpled the note and threw it on the ground. "His problems have nothing to do with me," Cerielle asked. "What's that?" The blonde man raised his hand in greeting. "Up to you. I'm just the messenger." Cerielle unfolded the paper and read, "Dark mages are evil, bullying outstanding students." She muttered, "Why would they kidnap Shirone? What does it have to do with you?" Amy worried, "That day I really couldn't hold back and fought back against him." Cerielle said, "Go tell the professors," she added. "Not only Shirone, but you'll be in danger too," Amy murmured. "Professors, that's what should be done, but it won't be easy." Amy imagined being called to the meeting room, the faculty council intervening, and during the investigation, she would be forced to reveal her relationship with Shirone, exposing her past. Amy thought of Shirone's appearance. If that happened, they would find out. The pitiful look on Shirone's face appeared in Amy's mind. He was just a commoner. She recalled what she had said. "For a commoner like you to get here, it must have been tough, right? It would be a shame if you had to quit halfway, wouldn't it?" And Shirone's words, "If doing that can earn your trust, then I agree." Amy's thoughts drifted back to 5 years ago, to someone lying on the ground saying, "It wasn't me." She was stunned to see Shirone crawling on the ground, desperate and begging, "Please." Amy clenched her fists. She called out, "Cerielle, I'll take your bag and go. If I don't come back, you have to tell the professors." Cerielle was shocked. "What? Why are you doing this?" She watched Amy's figure walk away and shouted, "What can you do alone? Do you know how many of them there are?" Amy turned back and said, "Sorry, but I have my reasons. Don't worry about me." She said confidently, Even if there are 10 bastards like Jack, they can't do anything to me. Back in the present, Shirone looked at the paper in his hand and said, so. He couldn't believe it and asked Cerielle, Senior Amy has gone to save me. Shirone thought, no way, someone as cunning as her? He urgently asked. She's going alone? What should we do? Cerielle replied, Amy said she has her reasons. It's the first time she's asked me like this. She continued, she told me to wait until 7 o'clock. Shirone rubbed his chin. There's really no other choice. He pondered why she didn't want to tell the professors. Shirone firmly checked the time it was to keep the secret between them. They were in this together. So, after thinking for a moment, he understood she had to accept going alone to protect the secret. Then he said to Cerielle, I have to go too. Shirone tossed his bag onto the table with a thud. Senior, just wait until that time. Cerielle called out, wait. Shirone turned and ran off, thinking as he ran that Training Hall 14 was in the direction of the mountains. Would he make it in time? Suddenly, Shirone's feet left the ground. It was Cerielle carrying him, flying away. She said, how will you get there by running? It's better if I go with you, she loudly instructed. I'm about to teleport. Hold on tight, Shirone asked in confusion. What do you mean? A golden light flashed beside him, and he saw his hands wrapped in a pale golden glow. In the blink of an eye, he vanished from the sky, screaming in panic. Students walking inside the building saw a flash in the sky. What? Who just used magic? Shirone's eyes widened, his destination, the forest. Cerielle held Shirone and slowed down, saying, it's dangerous if you hit a tree while teleporting. From here, we should just fly. No sooner said than done, she immediately grabbed Shirone and soared into the air. Moments later, Cerielle landed on the ground. Shirone trembled, clutching a tree to steady himself, completely unprepared. He stood holding the tree, vomiting green and yellow bile. Cerielle, having landed at Training Hall 14, hurriedly ran off, calling out, where are you, Amy? Worried, Cerielle found no one there. Strangite was already 10 minutes before the appointed time. Shirone wiped his mouth and said, maybe they changed the location because the address in the letter was leaked. They must be avoiding the teacher's watchful eyes. Cerielle shouted, then what about Amy? Shirone pondered. It was a meticulous plan. Secrets in the past were intertwining. Now was not the time to worry about whether his secret was being a commoner or something else. I could be suspended along with her. This situation is much worse than I imagined. Shirone said, Senior, please go back and report this to the professors. He looked ahead. It'll be much faster if you go back alone, Cerielle replied. But Amy told me to wait until 7 o'clock. Shirone shook his head. It's okay. It's because of me. He said to Cerielle, I'll help her, so don't worry. You should go quickly. Cerielle was stunned. What? After hearing this, she grabbed her head and shouted, your important reason is you? What's your relationship? Are you secretly dating? Is there something I don't know? Shirone urgently raised his voice. We don't have time. The later we wait, the more dangerous it gets. Cerielle sobered up and said, all right, remember to wait here. After Cerielle ran off, Shirone breathed a sigh of relief. The mountains were familiar terrain to him. Standing in the forest, he activated his spirit realm. Closing his eyes to concentrate, he was certain he would find a trace. The spirit realm expanded throughout the forest, and Shirone sensed something. Here it is, footprints. He followed them, the footprints of two people, recent but stopped midway. Had they flown away? Suddenly, a sound startled Shirone, a snapping branch. He stood up and looked toward a plume of smoke rising deep in the forest, thinking, please don't tell me something's wrong. Inside the forest, someone who had just used magic spoke. Oops, slipped. The blonde man who had delivered the letter smiled evenly. Oh dear, I almost hit you with the silver bullets I was using for retaliation. Amy. Amy glanced at the red burning fire beside her. Above, several new people appeared. They landed and surrounded Amy, saying, Big Boss Amy really came catching such a big fish. Our boss is truly something. One newcomer said, nonsense. Jack, leading the thugs, said, Amy is our honored guest. Don't be rude. Amy stood in the center of the circle. arms crossed, looking at him. What did you expect? Just a bunch of brats with nothing better to do than eat, Jack asked. You came alone? That kid means that much to you that you'd risk danger to come here? Amy replied coldly, just catching a mouse. No need to burn down the whole house. Jack clenched his teeth, laughing angrily. Still so arrogant, but with this many spies, I'm afraid you won't get your way. His eyes gleamed with petty malice as he said to Amy, this time, I've planned everything perfectly. Amy didn't bother to look at him and replied, how you plan is your business. I don't care, Shirone first. Jack's gang burst into loud laughter at Amy's words. Where else would he be? Probably still licking books somewhere in the library, not even knowing what trouble his girlfriend is about to face. The blonde man mocked loudly. Books? I love you. Let him be wherever he wants. They all stared at Amy. We only care about you, little sister. The guys here are crazy for revenge. Jack threatened Amy. That guy is still bitter about last night. Revenge is a must watch your back. Amy exhaled sharply. If Shirone's not here, then that's easy. She smiled. Just like you said, having this many spies watching is really annoying. Amy's body was immediately enveloped in a blue light as she said, because it takes a while to clean up all this trash, it's a bit exhausting. Jake's gang froze. What? He nervously broke into a sweat. No, it can't be. Before they could fully realize what was happening, Amy unleashed an attack toward the blonde man behind them. Flames burned his arm, and he screamed, too hot! The others immediately panicked. That girl, she really can cast fire. Jack ran while shouting, stay calm and dodge. He yelled, area attacks aren't effective against large groups. Cowardly, Jack quickly flew up with a few others, dodging swiftly and immediately returning to their original positions. But Amy's spirit realm swept over them. Jack hesitated. Boom! An explosion sounded right where he was. Amy remained calm, standing below as she clenched her fist. Her eyes blazed bright red, sharp and ready to fight. Her spirit realm split into multiple beams, sweeping over them without missing a single one. She focused her power. The flames blazed fiercely. With a boom, Amy simultaneously launched countless fireballs in all directions. The fireballs shot wildly, forcing the others to clutch their heads and dodge. Hey, didn't you say she's only trained in area attacks? How come her fireballs fly so fast? One hit target was knocked away. Jake cursed silently. Damn it, what the hell is this? Her level was completely different from what they saw at the training ground. Could she have real combat experience? Too hot. Jake shot straight up into the air, but no matter how powerful a skill, there's always a weakness. Hovering above, he looked down and thought, to counter horizontal area attacks, since she gathers wind into a vortex in her palm, I have to attack vertically. Jake gathered all his strength and unleashed an attack toward Amy Wind Blade. Jake's wind blade approached Amy from above, steadily closing in on her. Seeing that Amy couldn't dodge in time, Jake grinned, you're done for. But suddenly, as the wind blade struck down, Amy swiftly dodged like a flash. Jake shouted, how did she do that? Amy mocked him with a smile. That's called vector force, rookie. She extended her hand. Fire attack. Her spirit realm targeted Jake directly. He cursed loudly. Damn it. Jake took a fireball from Amy, knocked back several meters. Furious, he shouted, damn demon. Amy stepped forward, smiling gently. Because you waste time on trivial things, your results always suck. Jake clenched his teeth in hatred, raising his hand to counterattack. Don't think you can underestimate me. Amy laughed. Don't resist in vain. This time, I won't go easy on you. Suddenly, something struck Amy's blazing eyes. A surge of purple power surged forth, pinning her body in place. She panicked. What the hell is this? Amy clutched her face in pain and screamed. Jake's gang suddenly appeared all around her, attacking simultaneously. Stronger, finally caught her. Jake sneered. Surprised lion cubs? Amy's spirit realm began to dissipate. Jake said, If you don't dispel the spirit realm, you might go crazy. This encirclement was a form of anti-magic. Amy cursed, "You bastard!" Her eyes blazed bright red. "You dare use forbidden magic?" She silently cursed. "Damn it, red eyes won't help me recover." Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, grabbing Amy's hands. Her arms and legs were instantly bound. Jake laughed loudly. "Finally caught you, bitch." He stroked the hair near Amy and said, "So, have you reconsidered my offer from yesterday?" From somewhere, Jake pulled out a dagger, threatening, "You better think carefully. You see, I don't mind breaking the law." Amy gritted her teeth. "I warned you, if you dare try anything, I'll take your life," she thought. "I can't break free. Not even schematic magic can counter this. Since I was 12, I haven't been able to train anymore. Damn it." Amy hovered in the air, thinking she had to find a way. Jake laughed loudly. "Looks like you know exactly what situation you're in, don't you?" He stroked the dagger in his hand. "I heard you're tired of those guys clinging to you, right? Let me help you." Jake grinned shamelessly at Amy. "With just a little flick from me, they'll automatically stay away from you." The red-tinged blade pressed close to Amy's face as he said with satisfaction, "I've wanted to do this from the start." "You should have been in this mess from the very beginning." The knife hovered in front of Amy's face as she heard Jake ranting. "You should have been in this mess from the start," he ordered. "Speak." Amy squeezed her eyes shut, thinking, "Damn it, I have no strength left." Suddenly, she recalled the memory from 5 years ago in the narrow alley, Shirone crawling on the ground. This must be how he felt. Just as the tension peaked, someone shouted, "Stop!" Amy opened her eyes and looked toward the voice. It was Shirone, appearing with a wooden stick in hand, yelling, "You bastards!" Jake and his gang froze, surprised. "That guy is," Jake started. Amy was even more surprised. "You?" Shirone was panting, gripping the stick, staring fiercely at him. Jake mocked, "What's this? You came alone?" He brandished the dagger. "The prince is here." His gang immediately echoed, "The prince, no matter what you do." Amy shouted angrily, "You idiot, why did you come alone?" Shirone fell silent, calculating. Though they outnumbered him, how could they possibly overpower the top mid-level student? Besides, Senior Cerielle must have already called the teachers. She just needed to buy some time. Shirone's body surged with his spirit realm, bolstering his confidence. "I once defeated Ryan with swordsmanship. I can do this." He commanded, "Release Senior Amy immediately." Seeing Shirone running toward them, Jake sneered, "Are you crazy? Let her go so the two of them can attack us together?" Shirone still held his stick as he charged forward. The blonde man asked Jake, "That idiot's just running straight at us?" Jake laughed. "Open up, guys." They stood still, watching Shirone. At that moment, Shirone sensed something wrong. His spirit realm suddenly shattered like Amy's earlier. His eyes widened in shock. The stick slipped from his hand. Shirone clutched his head in pain and screamed. He collapsed to the ground amid Jake's gang's mocking laughter. They laughed loudly, just as expected from the prince, not disappointed in him at all. "What do you intend to do to a mage with that?" Amy shouted to Shirone, "Remove your spirit realm immediate. That's anti-magic." Shirone knelt on the ground, clutching his head. "Anti-magic?" "That thing," Amy continued loudly, "you might not be able to use magic for the rest of your life. Remove your spirit realm quickly or you'll go insane. Are you listening to me?" Shirone felt vague. His senses seemed to drift away, his consciousness breaking apart. He recalled what Professor Sienna had said, that mages must maintain focus to survive on chaotic battlefields. Shirone held his head, thinking, the defensive form is designed to prevent the spirit realm from collapsing against most disruptive forces. Even under physical shock, it doesn't collapse, and it's effective against psychological attack spells. Sienna's voice echoed in Shirone's ears. After all, anti-magic and spiritual energy are just waves. He still clutched his head in pain, enduring the mental torment as his spirit realm was attacked. Shirone thought if he could increase the density of his spirit realm to make it impenetrable. He looked at his hand, focused his mind, and rebuilt the spirit realm once more. The blonde man was surprised. What? He's trying to endure it, Jake sneered. He wants to act like a top A-rank student, even though he's just a newbie, Shirone shouted. Boost efficiency. Amy panicked. Give up, idiot. They're too many. Endurance has its limits. But Jake's gang froze. What? They saw Shirone's spirit realm being reconstructed again. What the hell is that? The planes of the spirit realm grew more solid. Shirone slowly stood up. He concentrated harder. I need more shards. The gang was hit back by magic, screaming, what is he doing? They're reflecting off him. Jake held his attack stance. Don't be afraid. Your emotions are disrupting the waves. Jake shouted, you want to be attacked by anti-magic? On the other side, Shirone was gradually standing upright, stepping forward. With every step he took, his spirit realm grew stronger. Shirone's spirit realm sphere became larger and harder. Jake's gang yelled, don't come any closer. The anti-magic was striking back at them. No, Jake's allies were all being hit by the anti-magic attack. They screamed in pain, clutching their heads. Help me! Amy stood frozen. What the hell is going on? Suddenly, the binding wind around Amy loosened. She was lost in thought because she couldn't use her spirit realm. She didn't realize what was happening. Her hands were freed, and her spirit realm now, she could use it again. The anti-magic had vanished. She landed on the ground, staring bewildered at Shirone's spirit realm before her. Impossible, cold and rigid spirit realm like that can actually exist? Shirone was even bleeding from his nose. He looked down, sensing something wriggling beneath his feet. Shirone's spirit realm was pressing down on the anti-magic, and he silently felt as if he were standing on a tiny worm. Jake was torn apart by his own forbidden magic, completely unreasonable. He looked at his fallen comrades and shouted, there are 6 of us. How could we lose to a weakling like him? Furious over the defeat, Jake began to slander Shirone. That bastard must specialize in anti-magic. That's probably how he got into the academy with a special recommendation. Jake stood up and activated his spirit realm. You think you can beat me with combat magic? Shirone froze. This was a big problem. Jake prepared to unleash 2 wind blades, and Shirone panicked. I don't know how to use magic at all. Jake laughed loudly. I'm about to cut you down. But before he could finish, Amy punched him, sending him sprawling several meters away. Before Jake could regain composure, Amy struck him again in the face, cursing, done for, bastard. Shirone hurriedly restrained Amy, who was going berserk on Jake. Senior, calm down. Amy kept hitting him and asked, what are you planning to do to me? Say it again. She relentlessly punched Jake, demanding, say that nonsense again. You damn bastard. Shirone was on the verge of tears. If you keep using your spirit realm like that, he'll really die. He used all his strength to pull her back. Please. After a struggle, a calm silence settled over the forest. Shirone asked Amy, are you okay? But Amy lay motionless on him without responding. Shirone tried calling again, Senior. Finally, Shirone realized Amy had fainted. He shouted loudly, wake up, Senior, Senior. Deep in the forest, both Shirone and Amy were lying sprawled out. Shirone looked at Amy unconscious on him and thought, I didn't expect her to pass out like this, maybe from exhaustion. He was silent for a moment, then said, thank you, Senior, Shirone whispered. I heard you came here to save me. At that moment, Amy suddenly twitched, sprang up like a spring, and said, now I feel so refreshed. Amy turned to look at Shirone. By the way, how did you have the guts to come here and fight them when you're so weak? Shirone, startled by Amy's teasing, clutched his stomach and knelt down. As expected, she had nothing nice to say. Amy cleared her throat. All right then, let's get out of here quickly. She reached out her hand. If we get caught by the teachers now, we'll be in big trouble. Shirone grabbed Amy's hand and stood up. Senior Cerielle must have already reported this to the teachers. I told her to do that, Amy said, surprised. What? I told Cerielle not to, so why? Shirone raised his voice. What else could we do? That was an emergency. Amy held her head. That's because you don't understand how things work here. It'll get much more complicated if the school has to intervene. Mages only overlook something after careful consideration. In other words, they won't overlook this. Amy shouted, "Do you want our secret to be exposed too?" Shirone said, "You think that's the problem? We were just lucky to survive." Jake lay dead nearby, listening to their argument. "Secret?" Amy said, "Damn it, we can think about the consequences later. For now, we just need to run." Shirone, confused, asked, "But we're already running." Suddenly, a pink light binding their eyes shone down from above, freezing them in place. Amy gritted her teeth. "Please, let it be an old teacher, an easygoing elder who might let this slide. An experienced teacher might say, 'These things happen.' But the ones who arrived were two terrifying figures. First, Thad Flame, level 6 certification, and second, Sienna Frost, level 6 certification. Seeing them, Amy immediately clutched her head. "I'm definitely dead. The two most hot-tempered advisors in the school, this is a death sentence." Cerielle rushed over. "Amy, are you okay?" Cerielle cupped Amy's face, gently shaking her. "Are you hurt anywhere? What's wrong with your head?" Amy felt dizzy. "I'm fine. How did you get here so fast?" Thad is about to cast a spell. A glowing orb shot straight into the sky. Shirone admired Thad. "That's the blazing solar spell. I've heard it's very difficult to use." Thanks to the light from the spell, Thad saw 6 of Jake's men lying unconscious on the ground. What the hell happened here? He frowned and turned to glare at Amy and Shirone, startling them both. Thad approached and shook Amy, asking, "Amy, how did a top student like you get caught in such a mess?" he asked. "Are you injured anywhere?" Shirone winced, hearing this. He said to Thad, "Sir, you came because you heard we were in danger. Can I explain the situation?" Shirone nodded. "It's because..." But before Shirone could speak, Jake cut in. "Let me," he said. "I believe I can explain everything to you." Jake, his face bruised, added, "Honestly, because of personal grudges, I requested a spectacular one-on-one fight. It's quite common at our reckless age." Shayna's gaze turned cold. "A one-on-one fight? I heard he received a threatening letter." Also, she glanced at Jake's unconscious comrades on the ground. "I saw you use anti-magic. You're not going to claim ignorance of the Academy's rules, are you?" Jake flinched but defended himself. "That's because Amy is too strong. I only used it as a countermeasure." Jake confidently said, "But look, we're the ones who suffered the worst consequences." He confidently patted his chest and said, "Not to mention Amy broke the rules first when she attacked me in the library. That's why I suggested a one-on-one fight." Don't you find it strange that Amy didn't immediately report it to the teachers? Amy, hearing his shameless twisting of facts, shouted, "What nonsense are you talking about? You're the one who threatened me first in the library, and this time you even wrote that you kidnapped Shirone." Jake cut her off. "But did we really kidnap him? Even today, you were the one who attacked us first." Jake pointed at Shirone's face. "Besides, since Shirone didn't report the issue to the teachers and immediately ran here, it means you two are hiding something." He shouted loudly, "Have the teachers understood? Jake is determined to convict you both." He said, "The guilty ones are the two of you." Thad looked at Shirone, while Amy grit her teeth angrily. "You bastard," Jake smirked cunningly. "So why don't you reveal that secret right here? What's wrong?" He sneered silently. "Now, do you understand? The terror of a dark mage," he silently planned. "I want to blow this up, no matter the cost. Once I uncover that precious secret of yours, the local news, national agencies, even the church will know. I'll spread this everywhere." But Professor Sienna interrupted his madness, and the atmosphere quickly cooled. She said, "You can stop talking nonsense now." A cold wind blew strongly as Sienna continued. "You and your friends have been using anti-magic. You have even crossed the line in using anti-magic. You used it to attack others," she said, looking at Shirone. "You know that the minds of Shirone and Amy could be damaged. They could even lose their sanity." Shirone gritted his teeth, reflecting on his life. Professor Sienna's eyes turned icy blue. I believe these actions alone are enough to expel you from this academy. Jake patted his chest and laughed loudly. A low-ranking advisor has the authority to expel me? Thad stepped forward and whispered to Sheena, Miss, the Ardius family is practically the lifeline of this academy. Without their sponsorship, we'd even lose our salaries. Shayna replied, Isn't the role of advisors like us to guide students onto the right path? Her tone was commanding. If you can't even do that, then you'd better pack up and leave this academy immediately. Jake laughed loudly. All right then, let's see if I get expelled or if you lose your job. He tried to open his swollen eye wide, looked at Shayna, and said, This world runs on money. Before money, everyone must bow. Sheena's expression grew darker, but Jake kept talking. You should take this chance to understand how the world really works, Sheena replied coldly. Before that, she raised her hand high, and a pillar of ice gradually formed. The wind blew so fiercely it was impossible to keep one's eyes open. Shirone marveled, so cool. Amy squinted. How did things get this bad? Thad called out. Miss. Teacher Thad intervened. You can't just punish a student like that. Moments later, Jake was instantly surrounded by a mountain of ice, like a towering frozen pillar. Countless sharp ice spikes pointed directly at his face. Shirone watched in awe, mouth agape impressive. She hadn't even touched a single thread on his clothes. This meant she had exceptional control over her magic, down to the finest details. Shirone was amazed, so that's why she was called the Genius Ice Mage. Sheena said, Jake, do you really think everything can be solved with money? Still defiant, he shouted, Stop your nonsense and dispel this freezing magic at once. Shayna snapped her fingers, and the ice shattered instantly. Calmly, she said, We know you've harmed many other students, but the academy hesitates to punish your misconduct. Jake knelt on the ground. That's thanks to my family's funding. Sheena raised her voice. Don't be mistaken. She continued, This school isn't a place where teachers teach you for money. More than that, we teach you lessons that even money can't buy. Jake hesitated. What the hell is that? Sheena replied, It's what you dream to become. She seriously asked, Don't you want to become a mage? Those words seemed to awaken Jake. He remembered his past, and Shayna said, If I promoted you to the 5th grade, you would become a great mage and repay me. Shayna continued, A dream you shared with your friends, studying together to become mages. Isn't that the reason you decided to come this far to this school? Jake was stunned, recalling himself and his friends when they were young, growing up together. Shayna asked, Do you really want to destroy everything you've built with your own strength? She looked at Jake gently. He was silent for a moment, then spoke, Miss. Jake lowered his head to the ground. After a long pause, he said, I'm sorry. Shirone looked up at the sky, thinking about what mattered most to him. Then, inside the punishment room, a shout echoed. It hurts. Take it easy on me. Don't be so strict. It's just a power spell. Finally, what had to happen happened. Shirone and Amy sat together in the meeting room. Thad asked, Shirone, why didn't you report this to the teachers immediately when it happened? The first thing you should do is report to the teachers. Your tone was calm, but you came to rescue a senior student who's many levels above you. We cannot accept that as an explanation. Amy and Shirone glanced at each other, then fell silent. After a long pause, Amy spoke up. I understand. I'll answer honestly. Shirone looked at her, right, as if we could keep this secret forever. Though I don't know who leaked it to the principal. Amy was silent for a moment, then said, Actually, Shirone thought about his identity. Amy winked. My boyfriend. The moment she finished, Thad, Sienna, and Cerielle all gasped. Shouts echoed throughout the academy. What? Loud screams rang out. Help me. Is anyone there? In Amy's imagination, she was like a princess trapped by thorny vines, crying for help. Please save me. Jake's gang appeared as cruel black villains. Who would bother coming to this desolate mountain to save her? She should have accepted our feelings, and none of this would have happened. Suddenly, the sound of horses neighing echoed, startling the dark-clad group. Who's there? They asked. Turning around, they saw a shining white horse. Someone called out, "Is anyone else coming here?" Shirone appeared like a prince, kicking away the villains. They shouted, "Behind you." Amy, hanging from a tree, asked, "Who are you?" Shirone cut the thorny vine binding Amy and warmly said, "I'm here, Amy." He lifted her like a princess. Amy called out, "Shirone," and he looked at her sweetly. "Amy." The crowd shouted their names together. "Shirone! Amy!" Excited students yelled, "No way! Is this for real?" The girls stared at Shirone standing before them, saying, "So romantic." Shirone nodded, "Of course it's all true." One girl confirmed, "I saw it with my own eyes." Suddenly, a gloomy Amy appeared behind her and called, "Shirone." Amy's voice echoed throughout the academy. "What kind of rumors are you spreading? I know you've been obsessed with those cheesy romance stories lately, but this is just unacceptable." On the academy's bulletin board, a notice was posted that read, "Official announcement regarding disciplinary action related to the misconduct of the school research club, specifically the club's violent behavior and numerous other incidents. The goddess of Alpheas, Amy Karmis, has admitted to dating the new student Shirone Ariane. Senior Amy stated she is dating the new student to protect the one she loves from a vicious and wrongful siege. Young love blossomed the moment they connected. The dark magic was easily defeated. What is the true identity of the new student?" Amy and Shirone shared a passionate kiss under the moonlight in the remote mountains. Within the school, the girls couldn't stop exclaiming, "Oh my God, I'm so jealous." Amy's voice rang out, "Cerielle, are you bored of life or what?" She sighed. "You've never even seen that happen with your own eyes." Cerielle laughed excitedly. "Do I really need to see it to know what happened? You said you two were dating, right? Then you must have kissed by now, right?" She chuckled. "I've thought it all through. With this, no troublesome boys will dare come near you anymore." Amy clicked her tongue. "That makes sense. At least that part is reasonable." A few days before the incident, Thad slammed the table and asked Amy, "Are you lying?" Thad loudly questioned, "The Amy I know wouldn't be interested in dating anyone. This is ridiculous." Besides, Shirone is a new transfer student. Amy calmly made up a story. "Actually, I met Shirone when we were kids. But meeting again here at the Magic Academy, it must be fate." She brushed her hair back and smiled at Shirone. "Right, Shirone?" Shirone quietly asked, "So how will you take responsibility for that?" Before he finished, Amy delivered a sharp kick under the table. Shirone quickly nodded. "That's right." Thad and Sheena were left speechless. "Is that the reason?" No wonder he rushed to save Amy like that. Amy thought to herself, pretending to be in a relationship is better than having our past exposed. Cerielle was still excited. "I knew it. I found it strange from the start. What is this?" "Amy, you're really so silly." Amy fell silent and took a sip of water. Cerielle said, "There's a joint class today, right? You'll get to see Shirone." Forgetting to eat, Cerielle eagerly asked Amy, "Are you planning to meet him after class? Maybe have dinner together? Or do you prefer secret dates in the library?" Amy replied flatly, "We just focus on studying like usual." Cerielle propped her chin. "How boring." Amy smiled wryly, thinking, "I still have a ton of things to do. No time to waste on that fake love story." She clenched her hand, holding Shirone's too. That useless guy is just enjoying normal school life. He's still carefree and innocent. Suddenly, Amy noticed something strange. Wait, why do I feel uncomfortable about that? At the intermediate combined training ground, someone called out, "Shirone." Cerielle happily shouted, "Over here, Shirone." Waving, "Hello, senior." Cerielle excitedly ran over. "Hey, how have you been today? Missing Amy much?" Shirone scratched his head and laughed. "You're funny, senior." Amy covered her mouth. "So that's it. It's him. It's definitely him." He should have been grateful to be her pretend boyfriend, but Amy felt annoyed, thinking, he should feel pressured standing next to me, right? How dare he treat me like that? Suddenly, she cleared her throat to get Shirone's attention and teased, "When it's just us, feel free to talk to us comfortably. No need to be all formal about senior and junior stuff." After all, we know each other too well already. Cerielle stood beside them, surprised. Wow, it's the first time I've heard Amy say something like that. Could this be the power of love? Amy said, considering the relationship between us. Shirone quickly smiled awkwardly. Ah, no, I'm fine. After all, you're still a senior student. He added, it's time to go to class now. I'll head off first. With that, Shirone left, leaving Amy standing there. Cerielle paused and replied, okay, bye. Amy also turned and walked away. Cerielle quickly called out, Amy. Then she looked back at Shirone. What's going on? Shirone pulled out a chair and sat down. He silently endured the malicious words aimed at him. Congratulations. Congratulations. You must be feeling pretty proud, huh? You only come to class to play love games, right? You don't even have any skills. How did you even get into the academy? Countless unfriendly glances were directed at Shirone because all he did was go on dates, not care about studying. Shirone silently listened to their talk, still knowing nothing about spells. His hand trembled as it clenched tightly on his thigh. Starting 2 days ago, the rumors spread even wider. 2 days ago, someone ran into the 7th grade notice board and shouted, hey everyone, have you heard the news? They noisily chatted, Senior Amy and the new student are dating, of course. It was said they even admitted it in front of the teachers. Some male students cried and comforted each other, no way, Senior has to be mine, not a chance, come cry on my shoulder. Meanwhile, some girl said, so annoying. Just thinking about the 2 spotlight students becoming a couple, I was planning to claim that new student guy. Maria sat listening to everyone's laughter and gossip, which was understandable. Every cloud has its silver lining. Clearly, we should be congratulating him. Suddenly, someone appeared next to Maria, making her jump. But isn't there something a bit strange? The whole class turned to look at the speaker. The short-haired girl asked, what do you mean? The newcomer replied, I'm talking about that new student. Look at this. He slammed a paper onto the desk. What's this? The midterm grades for class 1A. Everyone gathered around to see the paper. What's going on? What's this? On the grade sheet, Shirone was at the very bottom 30 points in every subject. Wasn't he supposed to be top of the class? People started to change their view of Shirone. See, looks like he doesn't know anything about spells. A skeptical classmate asked, how is that possible? The big guy said, and yet he still got special admission. Something smells fishy here. The guy kept throwing insults at Shirone, boasting about his influential family, backing him, claiming he was a genius, and even proposing to a noble lady. He exclaimed, the world is so unfair. A rich kid who only parties and causes trouble gets into the academy just to find a girlfriend. These words stirred everyone's anger. You mean he got in because of connections? I just noticed. Isn't that suspicious? People started to act righteous, wanting to ostracize Shirone. For all our futures, get that filthy thing out of this school. We will never forgive him. Maria sat silently to the side, listening. The classroom door slammed shut, and inside someone angrily shouted, how can the academy do something so unfair? Shirone silently looked inside, feeling strange. The unusually quiet atmosphere in the classroom confused Shirone had just been so noisy and lively. He stepped into the classroom. Shirone asked his desk mate, what's the next class? But the boy walked away without answering. Shirone fell silent. Perhaps there was no need to ask why they behaved that way. The students whispered among themselves, but intentionally loud enough for him to hear, blaming him for even affecting Amy. Now, in the practice room, during the spirit realm training class, Shirone stood alone. He tried to focus on his spirit realm, but still heard mocking voices. Why is he practicing here too? Shirone silently listened as they said, his spirit realm touched me. It's disgusting. They continuously expressed excessive malice toward Shirone, claiming his spirit realm was too large. At that moment, Othello approached and called him, Shirone, how's everything going? Shirone quickly replied to Professor Othello, ask her. The redirection form is quite difficult. When I try to move the spirit realm away from my body, it feels like my consciousness moves with it. Othello smiled. That feeling is normal, Shirone. Your converging spirit realm is natural. so it pulls your consciousness along with it. Athela continued, the redirection form involves artificially moving the spirit realm outside the body, so it might not suit you very well. Shirone nodded. I think so too, Athela asked further. What about your other 4 formation methods? Shirone pondered. The other forms? I don't have any problems with them, I suppose. Athela smiled and asked, Good. Would you like to try practicing within the spirit image? Shirone was surprised. What? Right now? He felt uneasy. Immediately? Athela said. If you feel uncomfortable, you can wait until next time. Shirone remained silent. She continued, Shirone is the only 7th grade student capable of switching between all 4 methods. So you just want to see it once, Athela said, watching Shirone with concern. This child had wanted to use the spirit image since day 1. Perhaps he was worried about the judgment of other students. Shirone thought, now is not the time to be emotionally sensitive, but those who believe in their own worth won't be easily shaken. After a moment, he looked up and said, I will try. Please give me your feedback, teacher. The 7th grade students immediately shot hostile glances at Shirone. He's still going to do it, one said. Another replied, he just wants to show off in front of his girlfriend. They sneered at Shirone standing within the spirit image. What else is he good at besides that? Athela said, try each form, one by one. Switch through all 4 in order. Shirone nodded. Yes, ma'am. One of the criteria for promotion to the next grade was proficiency in switching spirit realm forms. If I succeed now, I'll be closer to advancing. The 4th grade students were also waiting to mock Shirone, except for Amy and Cerielle, but they weren't much better. Shirone just hoped he wouldn't have to face the 7th grade anymore and could escape this situation. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and Shirone's spirit realm immediately appeared within the spirit image first, the defensive form. Amy was surprised, even stronger than when facing the Dark Mage at the start, a male student said. There are 144 facets that's advanced defensive form for sure. The 7th graders fell silent as others praised Shirone. At that level, it's basically an armored wall. Shirone's spirit realm then transformed into a star shape, spinning and shifting into a cross. Athela smiled. This student truly has a solid foundation. His switching speed seems far superior to the 7th graders. At this level, advancing to 4th grade should be no problem. Shirone stood inside his spirit realm, exhaling deeply. Although eager to prove his success, if he wanted the professor's advice, he had to show that Thad was defeated. Shirone's spirit realm fluctuated again. The 5th grade students looked on in surprise. He's switching to the redirection form? Only 5th graders get to try that. The 7th graders frowned. Redirection form, really? The key point was Shirone concentrated, shifting the spirit realm's center before it fully retracted and vanished. He clutched his head, panting from the power consumed, just like during practice. I can move the spirit realm's center, but the farther it moves from my body, the more my consciousness is pulled along. Shirone encouraged himself. Let's try again. The other students began covering their mouths to stifle laughter. Malicious whispers continued to rise, seizing the chance to bring Shirone down. What is he doing? Thinks he's a genius? So arrogant. Serves him right, huh? No shame at all. Still dares to stand there. Shirone stood solemnly while they sneered. Those are just the 4 basic forms. Amy spoke up. Hey, he's doing really well. Why the sudden change? Cerielle said, look at Shirone's spirit realm. She asked Amy, why is he trembling like that? Is he embarrassed by all the attention? Amy shook her head. No way. He's not that kind of weak guy, she muttered. What's going on lately? Shirone lowered his head, thinking, why do people enjoy seeing others fail? No, maybe they just want to see my failure. Everyone isolated him. Shirone began to doubt himself. Memories from childhood to now replaying continuously in his mind. Did he not belong here? Suddenly, a voice startled Shirone. You're overthinking. The voice said, don't hesitate, whatever you want. Shirone silently listened. Don't you want to become a mage? He was confused. Who's there? Then Shirone snapped back to reality. No, wait. What am I thinking? He squeezed his eyes shut. Shirone's spirit realm rose strongly once again. I came here to become a mage, after all. The 4th grade students gaped at Shirone's spirit realm. The 7th graders showed irritation. Shirone stood inside his spirit realm, clenching his fist tightly, trying to focus before it redirected, before it vanished. Shirone shouted loudly. In another room, Sienna was flipping through the incident report of the student accident. The report clearly stated 6 culprit students had attempted to damage the victim's mind by excessively using anti-magic, a type of magic banned in the school. However, 7th grade student Shirone had subdued the anti-magic with the defensive form. As she turned the pages, she pondered, he resisted anti-magic using only the defensive form, one of the 4 basic forms. Sienna was thoughtful. Anti-magic was so dangerous that even experts had to use relic subjects imbued with magical power that allowed even non-mages to wield similar strength. She was certain those kids hadn't used anti-magic properly, but for one person to stand against 6, Sienna mused that Shirone's spiritual energy must be greater than all 6 combined. She silently admired, truly a genius. Suddenly, someone called out, Miss Sienna. In the office, Sienna asked Athela, has Shirone successfully switched to the redirection form? Athela nodded. Yes, just yesterday. That boy started learning to switch between the 4 methods. It's only been a month. Athela said, I confirm that the spirit realm detached and disappeared for about 4 seconds. Sienna smiled, lifted her teacup for a sip, thinking to herself, indeed, my judgment of him was right. Athela continued. Therefore, to motivate the students, I have some suggestions for the teachers. Sienna adjusted her glasses. I guess we shared the same thoughts. A few days later, during 7th grade chemistry class, Sienna filled the board with chemistry formulas and then said, that will be all for today's lesson. The students sighed in relief. Thank God. Sienna added, the reason I ended class early is because I have a special announcement. She called on Shirone, the new student, inviting him to stand. He quickly rose. Sienna said, Shirone will be specially promoted to 5th grade. Starting tomorrow, your schedule will follow the 5th grade to adapt well. The 7th graders immediately erupted. Did you hear that? He got promoted 2 grades. Impossible. Normally it takes 2 years to move up 1 grade. In their minds, there was only one thought. Did he have some powerful family backing him to get promoted 2 grades at once? Sienna held her book, ready to leave. I hope you all will work hard to achieve the same. But before she could leave, a short-haired female student who always opposed Shirone spoke up. Wait, I object. There's never been a precedent for being promoted 2 grades at once. Something fishy is going on here, she loudly challenged. Besides, why would a student who can't use any magic be promoted early? Sienna pondered. Can't use any magic? She looked up at Shirone. Professor Athela didn't mention this. Is that true? Shirone remained silent. Countless eyes in the class turned to him, all clearly implying, you obviously have nothing. They say you can't go. They say you can't pass. Shirone calmly replied, yes, I have not been able to use any magic. Sienna was also a little surprised, finding it hard to believe. Even a simple, ordinary spell can be learned out of curiosity. Yet she said there is no rule requiring magic ability to be promoted, so it's not a problem. Just as Sienna finished speaking, someone slammed the table loudly. The tall guy, who had been deliberately provoking everyone to reject Shirone, stood up, utterly unwilling to accept this. He shouted, this is clearly favoritism. Didn't the teachers themselves say that the spirit realm isn't everything in magic? Shirone stood silently as the man challenged him. What else is Shirone good at besides the spirit realm? If he could perform even one spell, I'd accept it. The 7th graders, sensing support, rushed to speak up. That's right. If it comes to casting spells, we're confident we're better than him. Shirone can't keep up with theoretical classes, huh? They looked at Sienna. If you stubbornly allow him to be promoted early, we'll propose it to the student council and organize a hearing. Sienna was speechless. I had no idea about this, she said. I understand your concerns. Perhaps I was too hasty with this announcement, she continued. We will make an official statement after the teachers' meeting. The tall guy immediately smiled. Satisfied with his goal, Sienna sat inside, looking out at the sky, pondering, why are the students so agitated? She thought, it seems this isn't just about opposing injustice. The voices also carry emotional undertones. At that moment, someone came in to see Sienna. Miss Sienna, she asked. What is it, Maria? Maria hesitated. About earlier, I have something I want to say. Maria slowly recounted that everything began a week ago. At first, they completely ignored Shirone. She recalled his lonely figure, but a few days ago, everyone started openly speaking ill of him and littering his desk with papers. Maria, sitting in front of Sienna, said they even disturbed his studies. She burst into tears. I witnessed it all. I saw him endure the harsh rumors and attacks from everyone. The way they bullied him is truly unfair. Maria trembled as she cried. Sienna understood fully, frowning. So that's how it is. After a moment, Sienna said, Thank you, Maria. You've done your best. Now let me take care of it. In the book titled Outstanding Students, the physiologist Thort Collin made a very profound statement. Thort Collin said that humans should sleep at least 6 hours a day for optimal health. He sighed, although I only slept 4 hours a day throughout my student life. The interviewer asked, Doesn't that contradict your needs? You only slept 4 hours but still became an outstanding student. Thort Collin pointed and said, Listen, teenagers aren't just ordinary humans. They're superheroes. Whether they sleep or not, whatever they do, nothing affects them. When the clock passed midnight, Shirone leaned back and sighed. He looked around at the empty surroundings. Is it really this late? Passing by a classmate leaving the library, Shirone nodded politely to greet her. Luckily, she politely nodded back. Shirone walked alone outside the school grounds, beneath the crescent moon hanging high above. Shirone recalled Tamura's words. Master, once you enroll at the Magic Academy, many nobles will look down on you, but no matter what, you must endure. If you can hold on until the very end, you will reap the rewards. Shirone looked up at the sky. I'm sure I can do it. He thought of those who cared for him, made his decision, and placed faith in himself. Among them was Rian, who had sworn to be his knight. Shirone gazed at the moon high above, determined that no matter who tries to block his path, he will become a mage. In the dorm room on the 3rd floor, Shirone had just finished showering when someone knocked on the door. He hesitated and looked over. It's so late. Checking the clock, it was past 1 a.m. Who could it be at this hour? He suspected it might be the 7th grade students. Could it be them? The voice outside called out, Shirone, are you free? Shirone opened the door and saw Miss Sienna. She asked, May I come in? Shirone quickly nodded. Of course. He awkwardly poured tea for Sienna. Would you like some tea? Sienna declined. No, thank you. I planned to meet you earlier, but you weren't in your room. Sorry to bother you so late. She glanced at Shirone's desk. I see. She realized that when she first saw Shirone's grades, something felt off. Although his scores were low, they were equal across all subjects. She understood that he was likely trying to improve his knowledge in all areas simultaneously, rather than achieving temporary results. He studied for the future, not because he couldn't learn magic, but he had decided not to study it, so why was he doing this now? Sienna looked at Shirone and asked, Could it be because he didn't get to attend school when he was young? Shirone sat upright facing Sienna, feeling shy and thinking to himself, This is embarrassing. The two sat opposite each other. Shirone thought it was probably because this wasn't during class. Sienna focused on observing Shirone. Although in class, he always looked straight ahead at her. He seemed like the shy type. She asked, Is school life difficult for you? Shirone nodded. Yes, but it's fun, and studying is very interesting. Sienna said, I heard that your classmates have been bullying you. Shirone lowered his head. I'm fine. You don't need to worry about me, Sienna said seriously. Please be honest with me. Don't be shy. Shirone nodded. I really am fine, although I do regret not being able to make friends. After a moment, he looked up and said, but I don't know what to do to make them stop hating me, Sienna asked. Don't you feel any anger toward them? Shirone nodded. Of course I do. After all, I'm still human, though I sincerely wish to have good relationships with them. He calmly said, but I don't want to be obsessed with relationships to the point of losing myself. Even if all the 7th graders say I'm wrong, in the end, they're just 40 people. Shirone spoke clearly to Sienna. I believe that somewhere in this world, there exists someone who can truly understand me, Sienna realized. I understand now. She smiled and nodded at Shirone. I understand what you're saying, Shirone added. You will take note of this in the teachers' meeting. Sienna made an assessment, stating that Shirone wishes to be promoted early. With a serious tone, Sienna's voice echoed steadily in the teachers' meeting. Therefore, I would like to conclude by recommending that Shirone be promoted early. The professors pondered. Isn't this a bit sensitive? In the council room of Alpheas Magic Academy, the professors were also noisy. A whole group bullying one student just because he can't use magic. The middle grade teachers' classes. This was something that often happened in the lower classes. The lower classes usually have many young children along with a few older students who lack talent. Additionally, the skill gap among students at that level is often quite large. One teacher said this means Shirone should be promoted as soon as possible. For the student's benefit, he should graduate in 4 years. Sienna sat down and continued, saying that from the school's perspective, the sooner he graduates, the better. However, Thad spoke up. I object, Alpheas asked. You object? What is your reason? He replied, I know Shirone is a genius, but the problem is he cannot use magic, and I believe his weak theoretical scores cannot be overlooked. Sienna responded irritably. As I mentioned earlier, Shirone's low scores are because he is studying all fields at once. She is merely postponing the study of magic. As teachers, we should not interfere with a student's personal learning methods. I do not question his approach. Thad frowned. The problem is you are showing excessive concern for Shirone, Miss Sienna. Sienna's lip twitched. What did you just say? Thad explained, although other students may be less versatile than Shirone, they surpass him intellectually. Decisions like this may make students feel defeated and diminish their motivation to learn. He chuckled. A teacher shouldn't focus solely on a genius while forgetting the other students, right? Sienna replied loudly, you don't just intend to ruin the future of a talented student, but also fail to recognize the wrongful jealousy of the children. Thad and Sienna slammed the table repeatedly, clashing fiercely. The other teachers held their heads, thinking to themselves, here they go again. How can their personalities be so opposite, like two extremes? The other professors looked at Sienna certified at level 6, and Thad, also level 6, like water and fire, amazed. Unbelievable that they both became mages. Alpheas waved his hand. Enough. Both of you return to your seats. He said, both have their own reasons for their perspectives. Miss Sienna's view is meaningful, but Mr. Thad's opinion is not without merit. He cares about the overall balance of the school, and that comes from his love for the students. Alpheas added, he means well, I understand that. We need to consider and guide the common feelings among the students. Thad nodded. That's exactly what I meant, headmaster. Sienna listened to Alpheas. Then he smiled. Why don't we try this?